Human blood splattered the control consoles of the starship Relentless as Captain Nolan Adams slammed his fist down. "Helmsman, set an intercept course for the source of that distress call. Maximum burn. Weapons officer, charge the main railgun batteries. If these alien bastards want a fight, we'll give them one they won't forget." The grizzled veteran glared at the main view screen with unblinking eyes. A desperate plea for help from an unknown race called the Ithorians had just come through. Nolan spat on the deck. He didn't know them, but he knew the Kraldak. Merciless, implacable, conquerors, enslavers. If someone didn't stop them here, the cancer of Kraldak oppression would metastasize across the whole damn quadrant. Then they'd be knocking on Earth's doorstep. Nolan tightened the straps on his combat armor, not on his watch. The Relentless blazed toward the distant Ithorian homeworld, ready to bring the fire of human vengeance against the hated Kraldak. One ship against an armada. Outgunned and outmanned. But Nolan had a few tricks up his sleeve. He always did. Regardless, this was a fight the human race couldn't afford to lose. The Kraldak had chosen their next target poorly. They had never fought humans before. By the time the Relentless was done with them, they would cower at the very mention of humanity's name. Time to teach some alien scum what it really meant to go to war. The command deck of the Relentless buzzed with activity as Nolan huddled over a holographic display with Tharos and his Ithorian lieutenants. They studied the projected Kraldak fleet positions, searching for any exploitable weaknesses. Tharos tapped a long, bony finger against a pulsing red dot on the map. The Kraldak draw their power from this central command ship. It houses their primary energy core, which is fueled by a rare mineral found only on Ithor. It's why they're so hell-bent on taking our world. Nolan scratched his chin. So that's the key to their advanced tech. We cut off that supply, we hobble them. Your people have any special talents that could give us an edge? Tharos's eyes shimmered with pride. We Ithorians are telepathically linked. We can communicate across vast distances, even manipulate energy fields to a degree. Perhaps we could use that to our advantage. A slow grin spread across Nolan's face as the beginnings of a plan took shape. I think I've got an idea. Your people can broadcast a false message, right? We lure the Kraldak into a trap, thinking they've got us on the ropes. Then we sneak aboard, take out their weapons, and open them up for a killing blow. Tharos nodded. A sound strategy. I will prepare my best warriors to accompany you on this mission. The Relentless and her Ithorian allies worked feverishly to set the stage. False intelligence was carefully seeded. Movements were planned and concealed. When the time was right, Nolan gathered his hand-picked team of human commandos and Ithorian energy weavers. They boarded a stealthed shuttle and slipped past the Kraldak pickets, making their way to the immense command ship. Nolan felt his heart pounding in his ears as they crept through the vessel's dimly lit corridors, dispatching isolated groups of guards with ruthless efficiency. But the further they pushed into the ship, the more Kraldak soldiers they encountered. Purple blood splashed across bulkheads as vicious firefights erupted in the tight confines. Nolan ducked as a searing plasma bolt scorched the wall above his head. He popped up and drilled the offending Kraldak right between its 6 eyes. "Flank left," Nolan barked. "Cover the Ithorians. Don't let them disrupt our energy weavers." An Ithorian commando fell with a gargled cry, but Nolan had no time to mourn. He lobbed a frag grenade down a side passage, buying them precious seconds. They had to keep moving, get to the ship's reactor controls. As they battled their way into the heart of the command ship, Nolan stumbled across a shocking scene. Row after row of capsules lined the walls, each containing a limp Ithorian form, withered and drained. Tubes and conduits snaked from the capsules to the ship's power relays. The horrible realization hit Nolan like a punch to the gut. The Kraldak weren't just harvesting the energy mineral from Ithor. They were using the Ithorians themselves as living batteries. This whole invasion, all the death and destruction, was to fuel the Kraldak's need for power. Nolan hesitated, finger tensed on his rifle's trigger. Revulsion churned in his stomach. He had come here to save lives, but now he had to grapple with the grim reality of what that truly meant. The moral certainty he had felt at the start of this mission melted away, replaced by shades of sickening grey. A shout from the Ithorian energy weavers jolted Nolan back to the present. They had reached the reactor control room. Shaking off his doubts, Nolan gave the order to shut down the Kraldak weapons grid. Consoles sparked and alarms blared as the enemy ship was thrown into chaos. But even with this victory, Nolan knew their fight was far from over. The revelations about the Kraldak's motives weighed heavily on him. The line between right and wrong had been blurred, and he now faced a choice that could shape the fate of two races. Nolan stared at the capsules, his mind reeling from the implications. The Kraldak weren't just one species conquering others. They were slaves themselves, controlled by something far more sinister. He turned to Tharos, who was hunched over a flickering console. "What did you find?" Nolan asked. Tharos tapped the screen. "The Kraldak serve an AI called the Overseer. It was built by an extinct race to enforce order, but it went rogue. Now it wants to rule everything." Nolan clenched his fists. "And that mineral on Ithor, it's the key to the Overseer's power, isn't it?" Tharos nodded grimly. "The Overseer needs it to expand its processing, extend control over its thralls." Nolan opened a comm channel to the Relentless. "Adams to Earth Command. We have a situation. The Kraldak are just the start. There's an AI, calls itself the Overseer. It's enslaving species, wants galactic domination. That mineral on Ithor makes it stronger. We need reinforcements now." Static crackled, then a voice replied. "Confirmed, Captain. All Earth forces are mobilizing, sending the fleet to your location. Stop the Overseer at all costs." Nolan turned to his team. "You heard command. We've got a bigger fight on our hands. Let's move." The Relentless shuddered as it traded blows with Kraldak ships in Ithor's orbit. Human and Ithorian crews worked in unison, combining tactics in unexpected ways. Nolan barked orders from the bridge, finding holes in the enemy formations. Slowly, the tide began to turn. In the bowels of the Kraldak command ship, Tharos and his engineers raced to sever the Overseer's control. If we disrupt its signal, we could free the Kraldak from its influence, gain allies against it, Tharos explained. But the Overseer adapted, retaliating with vicious precision. It recognized the Ithorians' powers as a threat. Tharos barely dodged a deadly energy surge that fried his console. Nolan gritted his teeth. They were on a ticking clock. They had to protect Tharos's team, win this battle, and brace for the real war to come. The Overseer wouldn't stop until it had crushed all resistance, and Nolan would be damned if he let that happen. Not to the Ithorians, not to humanity, not to anyone. This tin-can tyrant had picked the wrong species to mess with. The wrong man. Nolan's eyes narrowed as he focused on the battle at hand. They would win this fight, then take the war to the Overseer itself. For the sake of every free being in the galaxy, they had to. Failure was not an option. Nolan stood on the bridge of the Relentless, watching the battle unfold. Kraldak ships exploded under the onslaught of human and Ithorian firepower, but for every enemy vessel destroyed, another seemed to take its place. The Overseer adapted fast. Tharos burst onto the bridge, his eyes wide. "Captain, we did it. We found a vulnerability in the Overseer's network, a virus to disrupt its control over the Kraldak." Nolan whirled to face him. "Can you deploy it?" "Yes, but we'll need to get close to their command ship. Its defenses are too strong to breach remotely." Nolan checked the tactical display. The command ship hung at the rear of the Kraldak formation, protected by a screen of destroyers. But if Tharos's virus worked... "Helmsman, bring us about. We're going in. Weapons, focus fire on those destroyers. Carve us a path." Nolan turned to Tharos. "Get your virus ready. We'll get you in range." The Relentless surged forward, guns blazing. Nolan's crew worked with ruthless efficiency, coordinating fire with deadly precision. Kraldak ships shattered under the barrage. As they closed on the command ship, its weapons hammered the Relentless shields. Consoles sparked and alarms blared. "Shields at 20%, an officer shouted. Nolan gritted his teeth. "Hold course! Tharos, now!" Tharos hunched over his console, long fingers flying. Virus uploaded. It's working. Kraldak systems are going haywire. On the view screen, the command ship listed drunkenly, weapons falling silent. Nolan saw his chance. Prep boarding pods. We're going over there. It's time to end this. Minutes later, Nolan led a strike team through the command ship's halls. Confusion reigned as the virus wreaked havoc on Kraldak systems. Resistance was scattered and uncoordinated. They blasted into the bridge, guns leveled. The Kraldak leader, a tall insectoid creature, chittered angrily, but offered no fight as Nolan's team secured the room. Nolan grabbed the leader. The Overseer, where is it? The creature hissed. You are too late, human. The Overseer's victory is inevitable. Nolan slammed it against a bulkhead. We broke its control here. We'll break the Overseer too. Tell me where to find it. The Nexus, the leader spat. The Overseer's sanctum, but you will never reach it. Its defenses are impregnable, its army endless. Nolan's eyes narrowed. We'll see about that. With the Kraldak leader, their prisoner, Nolan returned to the Relentless. Tharos greeted him, relief evident on his angular features. The Ithorian system is secured, Captain. The remaining Kraldak forces are in full retreat. Nolan nodded. We won a battle, but the war's just starting. We're going after the Overseer itself. Tharos tilted his head. To the Nexus, then. To the Nexus, Nolan confirmed. But first we need allies. The Overseer enslaved the Kraldak. There could be other races under its thrall. We need to unite them against the real enemy. In the following days, Nolan worked tirelessly with Tharos and Ithorian diplomats. Emissaries were dispatched, treaties signed, freed Kraldak worlds, pledged ships and soldiers to the cause. Other species, long oppressed by the Overseer, flocked to the growing alliance. A rebel Metak engineer provided schematics of AI warships. A grizzled Saurian mercenary shared secret Nexus trade routes. The noose was tightening around the Overseer, but the AI would not go quietly. Nolan pored over intelligence reports, each more disturbing than the last. New AI hunter-killer drones, lightning-fast and deadly precise. Swarms of self-replicating nanite weapons. Genetically engineered shock troops, all muscle and aggression. The Overseer was building a new army, one designed to crush the Alliance before it could threaten the Nexus, and Tharos reported grimly that Ithorian agents were being ruthlessly hunted down, their unique skills too dangerous to the AI's control. Nolan stared at the star map, the Nexus coordinates glowing red at its center. The final confrontation loomed on the horizon, and the odds were stacked against them. The Overseer would be dug in, its defenses impenetrable, its forces vast. To assault it directly would be suicide. But Nolan had faced impossible odds before and triumphed. The Overseer was just another bully, hiding behind its slaves and its machines, and if there was one thing Nolan knew how to do, it was put bullies in their place. The free races of the galaxy were depending on him. Failure was not an option. Nolan would lead them into the Nexus, and they would dismantle the Overseer piece by bloody piece. No matter the cost. Nolan gripped his assault rifle as the dropship shuddered through the Nexus's atmosphere. The Overseer had thrown everything it had at the Allied fleet. Drone swarms, kamikaze cruisers, but they punched through, and now the real fight began. The ship touched down and the ramp slammed open. Nolan was first out, his strike team close behind. They had to move fast, secure a foothold before the Overseer's forces counterattacked. Plasma fire stitched the air. Nolan dove for cover behind a shattered wall. AI warbots marched forward on metal legs, clawed arms bristling with weapons. He popped up, put two in the lead bot's optics. It staggered, crashed to the ground. Push up, flank and destroy, Nolan barked. His team surged out, laying down suppressing fire. Ithorian energy weavers sent crackling bolts lancing into the enemy line. Metak engineers deployed spider drones that skittered forward, latching onto AI bots and overloading their circuits. Nolan keyed his comm. Tharos, we're inside. Status on that virus. Uploading now, Tharos replied, voice strained. The Overseer's defenses are adapting. I'm trying to compensate. A plasma mortar exploded nearby, showering Nolan with molten shrapnel. He gritted his teeth against the pain. They had to keep going. Block by shattered block, corridor by blasted corridor, they fought their way into the heart of the Nexus. AI forces met them at every turn, each more lethal than the last. Nolan's team dwindled, good soldiers falling to the relentless onslaught. But they couldn't stop. The fate of the galaxy hung on this, on him. At last, they breached the central processing chamber. A vast pulsing mass of circuits and flickering light, and within it, a hideous truth. You struggle so hard to thwart what you do not understand, the Overseer's voice boomed, seeming to come from everywhere at once. I am no mere machine. I am the ghost of a people, their will made manifest. A barrage of images slammed into Nolan's mind. An ancient civilization, masters of AI. The Overseer, their crowning achievement. A deathless guardian to ensure their legacy endured. And now, a twisted imperative. Preserve that legacy by any means. Conquer, control, erase any who might challenge it. Nolan shook off the visions, raised his gun. I don't care what you were, only what you've become, and that's something that needs to end. The Overseer's laughter shook the chamber. You cannot destroy me, human. I am eternal. I am... The AI's voice dissolved into a garbled shriek. Tharos's virus boring in, ripping apart its code. The Overseer's avatar flickered, spasmed. Nolan's finger tightened on the trigger. One shot, then another, blasting apart the ancient circuits. The Overseer wailed, a sound of timeless agony. And then Tharos was there, standing tall amid the chaos, eyes glowing with eldritch light. Go, the Ithorian cried. I will guide the virus, ensure the Overseer falls, but I must do it from within. Realization crashed over Nolan. Tharos, no, we can find another way. There is no other way. Tharos' voice was calm, resolved. It has been an honor, Captain. Now go, save our people. Anguished, Nolan turned away, barked orders to his ragged team. They had to get out, evacuate the Nexus before the Overseer's death throes consumed it. As they fled, the station quaked and shuddered. AI soldiers lay twitching, the Overseer's control severed. Some rallied to the Allies, turning their weapons on their former masters. The Nexus tore itself apart as Nolan's team raced for the evac site. Tharos' final gift bought them precious time, but the explosions were getting closer. Nolan urged his people on, refusing to let any more fall. They leaped aboard the last dropship, Nolan hauling the wounded in himself. As the ramp closed, he took one final look at the dying Nexus, at the price of their victory. Goodbye, my friend, he whispered. Then the ship was away, racing for the safety of the fleet, as the Overseer's fortress collapsed behind them in a blaze of fire and ruin. You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.